All right. So hey, we're doing Facebook Live. It is Friday at about 2:23 p.m. Just before Memorial Day weekend. I hope that everybody has great weekend plans. Look, I know that there are a number of things that folks have been contacting our office on, so I want to go through a few updates and then see what questions y'all have. Make sure we let John or somebody know. I'm not seeing this stuff right now. Number one, I was going to talk about river levels and what's going on with Morganza. Number two, I was going to talk a little bit about duplication of benefits. Number three, windfall elimination, government pension offset. And four, whatever else y'all want to discuss. But I do want to say again, this one's going to be a little bit quicker. On river levels, right now, y'all are aware that the Bonacari spillway, the spillway above New Orleans, the width of the capacity of the Mississippi River through New Orleans is less than it is above New Orleans. So if you have a bunch of water coming through the Mississippi River, if the Carrollton gauge comes up too much and you don't open the Bonacari spillway, New Orleans is going to flood. The Bonacari spillway historically has been opened up once every 10 years, once per decade, and that's a pretty consistent average. In the last 4 years, we've opened it 4 times, including twice this year. So really pretty incredible that we're having such an amazing amount of activity in recent years. It shows that we are seeing weather changes. We're seeing some changes in the river as well, which we've been meeting with the Corps of Engineers on changes to the river now for over a year, and I'm going to get into some of that in once this high water activity is over. Right now, in addition to the Bonacari spillway being open, it appears that as soon as June 2nd or 3rd, the Corps of Engineers will begin opening the Morganza spillway. This will be the 3rd time in history, once decades and decades ago, once in 2011, and again this year. So, again, if we haven't done it for a number of decades, and then we opened it in 2011 and haven't to open again in 2019, it just further confirms that weather's changing, weather patterns are changing. We're seeing, I'm getting a little bit here, and that we've got more water coming down the river, and the geomorphology of the river's changing a bit. So with the Morganza spillway opening, we've been in touch with Terrebonne Parish, with St. Mary Parish, St. Mary Levee District, Terrebonne Levee District, Assumption Parish, and many others about putting the Bayou Chene structure in place. Some people are saying, oh, why didn't you do it before? Bottom line is you've got folks at CPRA, the state agency, you've got levee district folks and others that need to be making these decisions based upon the right criteria. Quite frankly, I don't think you really need politicians making the decision. And so we've been in touch with them. It appears that installing that structure will be helpful in helping to prevent water from backwater flooding in Terrebonne Parish, St. Mary Parish, St. Martin Parish, Assumption Parish, Iberville Parish. So that structure, they're working on trying to get that in place. We were working on some of the permitting issues, which I think we've got addressed now with the Corps of Engineers. There were some financial issues that I think are also being addressed, and we are trying to get a federal disaster declaration as well. We spearheaded a letter for the delegation. We got everybody in the delegation, Republican, Democrat, House, and Senate on board, and that letter was sent to the president yesterday. So all those things are happening. So I'll say it again. It looks like Morganza's opening. Bonacari's open right now. Right now, we need to focus on the immediate flooding, and so that means sandbags in some cases. It means the Bayou Chene structure. It may mean super sacks or gabion baskets or other things to help prevent flooding. If you need access to sandbags and others, I'd urge you to get in touch with your parish Office of Emergency Preparedness, or we'll also go through and post up some information on where different resources are available. So, Stacy, if you could do it, that'd be great. Also, you might want to tell Stacy hello. She's the one who did the cameo inadvertently a little bit earlier. So that's river levels and flooding issues. Number two, duplication of benefits. Look, I know that many of you have been asking for an update on that, and we were waiting for a few more things. We actually had a hearing with FEMA just, get my day straight, Wednesday, a hearing with FEMA. where we talked about this issue. Congressman Mark Meadows and I questioned FEMA on it a good bit. We're going to post that dialogue, but there were some audio problems in the file, so we're trying to figure out if we can get that fixed or not. Here's the deal. As y'all know, we've continued to relay information from HUD, from Office of Management and Budget, from FEMA, from Small Business Administration, and anyone else who offers it. They told us they thought they were going to have the guidance finished by the end of the week. It did not happen, and so, which, look, they've set deadlines for themselves repeatedly, and they've missed every single one of them. The good news is, one, they did have a senior level official meeting where they had representatives from Office of Management, Budget, FEMA, SBA, HUD, and others there trying to work through some of the issues. Apparently the draft guidance, and I'm giving you this second and third hand, the draft guidance that they put together was not, I'm just told, wasn't really appropriate or well thought out, I guess. And again, second and third hand information, I'm just telling you what I'm being told. And so they are working on revising that or updating it to make it more actionable. On Monday, they told me it was going to take several more days. I keep asking for a backstop, and everyone that they've set, they've missed in terms of the deadlines that HUD has set on themselves. Here's the other thing, just to give you an update. As y'all know, we worked with some constituents, some duplication of benefits victims, to get this lawsuit filed, and the lawsuit against HUD on the duplication of benefits guidance. Department of Justice just came in this week and asked for a 2-week extension. And so I think what that does, if I remember right, and don't quote me, but I think the deal is that gives them until the middle of June or so to actually comment or come into the court on the legislation. I think it's the middle of June. And what they told the judge in that lawsuit was that they thought that the guidance would be finalized by that time, therefore making the lawsuit moot. The judge did grant that temporary extension, but the reason I bring this up is that I do think it's important that Department of Justice is telling the court that the guidance is going to be issued, they think, in the next few weeks, therefore making the lawsuit moot. That is another perhaps guidance point. I candidly wish the judge wouldn't offer him any extensions and make him come in there and kind of face the crowd and face reality on this stuff. But that's what happened. So I'll say it again. They didn't meet their own deadline for the 12th time or whatever. There was a senior officials meeting this week. I think it was on Tuesday afternoon, where they all sat down and discussed this. We did have a hearing with FEMA on, I think it was Wednesday this week, where Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina and I, North Carolina is another affected state, we both grilled FEMA. We're going to post that dialogue up on Facebook, but we're waiting on the video. Again, the audio file was corrupted, and so we're waiting to see if we can get a better audio file on it, and we're going to post that up. And in the court, related to the court case on duplication of benefits, the Department of Justice asked for a 2-week extension for the May 30th status conference. So that kicks us somewhere to perhaps the middle of June. They said Department of Justice told the judge that they expect the guidance will be finalized by then. So that's kind of the update on duplication of benefits. I'll say it again. I don't control the timelines. If I were in charge of this, I would have already fired several people. The guidance would have been written months ago. I think they are acting illegally. Every single day I am banging on HUD and White House and OMB and FEMA and everybody else involved in this debacle. The good news is that I continue to believe that you're going to be paid. I do. I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't think it was the case. The money's in the bank. The law's been changed. Everybody agrees the law fixes it. We just have a bunch of bureaucrats that, in my opinion, aren't doing their job and are taking way too long to get this done. So that's the update on duplication of benefits. And again, I'm happy to answer questions y'all may have on that. I'm going to jump to the last one. Government pension offset and windfall elimination provision. I know that a lot of y'all ask about that on a regular basis. It's something that we've been working on. We had a bill this week. It was the Secure Act, HR 1994, that about 90% of that bill was really good stuff. It has to do with retirement security. and sort of easier access to retirement options. But because it had to do with retirement, we saw that as being a germane or a relevant, a topical bill for windfall elimination and government pension offset. So we did get together with bipartisan members of Congress, Congressman Rodney Davis, Congressman Lipinski. Who else do we have on that? I don't remember, but we had one or two other members of Congress. We filed the amendment to the bill, and once again, the House Rules Committee, and I know somebody's going to accuse me of being partisan here, but the House Democrats on the Rules Committee opposed our ability to offer the amendment. So it's not like the amendment was voted on, and meaning that people voted against the amendment. They used a sort of a rules trick to prevent us from being able to offer the amendment. So they did prevent us from being able to offer the Social Security Fairness Act as an amendment to this bill that would have fixed, if our amendment passed, it would have fixed the government pension offset windfall elimination. Now, look, I understand it wasn't progressing it because the amendment wasn't offered, but we had bipartisan support. We're continuing to stay at their 1 yard line pushing this. Every time a relevant bill comes up, I will be pushing this amendment up again. But we have had problems with both Republicans and Democrats in the past. In this case, it was Democrats that blocked us. But again, we've had problems on both sides with trying to get our amendment made germane or made in order to where we could attach it to the bill. But obviously a disappointment this week, but going to continue working on that. So, okay, so Marlene's asking about the A-Meet. So Marlene, if you go back down, a few posts down, we posted a little bit of an update on the weir, on dredging and cleaning out. They call clearing and snagging on a number of the canals and bayous, including Coyal and West Coyal, A-Meet, and other, I'm trying to remember what other ones we were working on. We already did some work on Tickfaw, but basically we were able to get the permits released from the Corps of Engineers after they held them up for several months. So those permits have been issued. It's going to allow 3 different funding streams, nearly $50 million in funds from the Department of Agriculture. A big chunk in the total for Livingston Parish, I'm assuming that's where you are, $68 million in hazard mitigation grant funds to Livingston Parish, and a few $1 million through the Gulf of Mexico Energy Security Act, 3 federal programs, funds to Livingston Parish for cleaning out A-Meet, again, Coyal, West Coyal, and other waterways and bayous in Livingston Parish. So the permits have been cleared, contracts have been issued, and again, there's an update on that down below here. If you have any other questions, let us know, Marlene. Cora, thanks for being on. Let's see, Ryan, are you going to be in the district for the 31st? Ryan, actually, I'm in Louisiana now. We're going to be here all next week as well. And so it sounds like you're going to be in DC while I'm at home. We're out of session next week, but our DC staff is absolutely up there. So if you want to get a tour of the Capitol, we're happy to hook you up. If you can reach out to Megan in our Washington office, phone number is 202-225-3901. Again, 202-225-3901. Ryan and Megan is up there, and she'll definitely hook you up with a tour. Tammy says I need a Lane Hardy hat. How awesome was that? Lane Hardy, American Idol. That was fantastic. I kind of like, which one I have here? This is my CCA hat. Just got a haircut. Got my CCA hat on. I like this one too, though. This one's not bad, but I'll take a look and see. Okay, Marcus, I'll be in DC the week after July 4th. Anything going on around town? Marcus, there's definitely a lot going on 4th of July week. But again, I'd urge you, give our Washington office a call. Megan up there is the guru on all the tour stuff, and give her a call. Let her know when you're going to be in town and see if we can help set you up with some good options. I'm not sure if you have kids or not, but great options. The Smithsonian museums, the Kennedy Center's neat, National Archives, Library of Congress buildings, are lots of opportunities. And the great thing is almost everything up there is no cover charge. And so it really, while hotels and food and all that's expensive, the activities are really accessible and affordable. Let's see, who else? let's see, Christina was asking about Mississippi River stages. I think we kind of covered that. Jason and Sheila, Tammy, appreciate you being on. Werner, appreciate you being on for their drugs to make sure that we're not getting counterfeit or fake drugs. But 100% I would support, even though I'm a big free market person, what is happening in the drug space is not free market at all. Some companies are bad actors. They're manipulating the process, and they are gouging people who need life-saving drugs like insulin and others, and we have people in our office that are dependent upon duplication of benefits amendment in there. He's from Texas. Maybe that was part of his motivation. We filed an amendment that once again, the Democrats blocked. They refused to allow us to offer the amendment up. And I'll say it again, we've had Republican problems in the past as well. So I'm not being partisan, I'm being factual. But we tried to offer an amendment to the bill that was going to require within 7 days that the duplication of benefits guidance be issued. So that way in the law, it would require that it be issued. And they blocked that or refused to let it happen. Now there is another duplication of benefits amendment that Congressman Cedric Richmond and I included in that bill. What that one does is it basically says that prospective funds, so this one isn't really going to affect Louisiana. It may affect some small portion of Hurricane Harvey victims in Southwest Louisiana, but it's not going to have a huge impact on, really any impact on the 2016 victims. That I don't expect that bill is going to have a big impact on Louisiana, and quite frankly, I don't even think that a 1 week delay or 2 week delay is going to have a significant impact on the other disaster victims as well. And here's why. There is so much money that is already in the pipeline available that Puerto Rico, Texas, North Carolina, Florida, and others haven't gotten out yet. I don't think that it's going to cause any type of real delay or impact. I am still going through the text of the bill to make sure that we fully understand. They did cut funds in some cases, they raised funds in others. I just want to make sure that we've got a full picture of what's in there. So, Paul, to answer your question, I understand why Congressman Roy did this. I've got concerns that they didn't include our amendment on duplication of benefits that was going to force that the guidance be issued immediately. I'm frustrated that they didn't include our amendment that was going to force HUD we had a few amendments, 7 days or 14 days. We worked on one with Congresswoman Fletcher. We filed 2 or 3 on our own. So again, bipartisan amendments that was going to force HUD to issue the guidance on the $1.2 billion in publish a Federal Register notice on the $1.2 billion in flood mitigation funds for Louisiana, so we can invest those dollars in flood projects. Once again, HUD dragging their feet. We appropriated those dollars. This is not duplication of benefits dollars. This is for flood projects. We appropriated those dollars in February of last year, and the bureaucrats are still dragging their feet on that one. So that wasn't included in the bill either. So I'm a little frustrated by them not holding these agencies more accountable and putting more stringent timelines in there. Amy, thank you. Susan, I gave an update on duplication of benefits. I'm not sure when you say restore if that's what you meant or not. If you could clarify. Josh, yeah, look, Josh. Josh is saying it's pretty bad when people have to file a lawsuit to require the federal government to simply follow the law on duplication of benefits. Josh, look, I couldn't agree with you more. Once this guidance is issued and this process gets through, we're going to do everything we can to go give these people complete investigations, go investigate everything that happened, try and find the responsible parties, and I'm going to do all I can to try and get them fired. I think it is inexcusable, the delays and the impacts they've had on families. In fact, just got an email, an update today for someone who lost their job, who is a duplication of benefits victim and is unable to find other employment, lost their home, and was a Katrina victim where they lost their home as well. So think about all that, kind of snowball that they're dealing with. And it's all because you got a bunch of bureaucrats that, don't want to work more than 8 hours or and won't work weekends, whatever, to actually do the job that they need to do. So pretty frustrating. Nona, I did give an update on Windfall Elimination. Sheldon, how can we get in the class action lawsuit? Sheldon, I'm trying to think. I want to make sure I know who had it. I'm just going to say it, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this. Ethically, I'm think I'm okay because I'm just referring you or giving you facts. The law firm that is working on this is called the Whaley Law Firm, W-H-A-L-E-Y. The Whaley Law Firm. They're in Baton Rouge. I think they're on Jefferson Highway. So I can just give you that information. Maybe I'll just stop there because I'm not sure. I'm not crystal clear on what our ethics rules are. So I'll tell you that and try and keep myself from getting in too much trouble anyway. But Whaley Law Firm, Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge, is the law firm representing the plaintiffs. Nona, thanks. Gayla, thanks for the update and all you do. Patience again. You bet, Gayla. And look, I'm gonna say it again on duplication of benefits, Gayla. I still am confident. I am optimistic that y'all are going to get paid, and I know I don't know. I can't even imagine what many of y'all have been going through. Thousands and thousands of you waiting years for common sense to just bubble up and become reality here. I am sorry that this is taking so long. Like I said, if I were in charge of this, if you were in charge of this, it would have been done years ago. We ran into nearly a 10-month delay on our bill in the United States Senate. We ran into nearly a year delay trying to work with HUD under the Obama and Trump administrations, trying to get them to just change the stupid policy, and they wouldn't do it. We got the bill through the House 3 different times, trying to force the Senate to act, and now we're dealing with the bureaucrats because it became law back in October. I've spoken to the president about it, vice president about it, Ben Carson. I've spoken to him about it about 5 times, his staff, White House, OMB, and many, many others. And I'm convinced that there are bureaucrats that are doing everything they can to slow roll this. But at the end of the day, I'm also confident that justice is going to be had for all of you that have been in this predicament, and you're going to get your money. James, you bet it is a debacle, James. It really is. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I said this at the hearing this week. It is the federal government re-victimizing flood victims. This is bureaucracy at its worst, and it's why the federal government has a single-digit approval rating in some cases. Tana, you're asking, will income play a role in duplication of benefits as far as who does and who does not automatically get money? And Tana, I know that there was a press release that was sent out that I think confused people. Let me be clear. We didn't write that press release. We didn't approve the press release. I did not see that those provisions in there on what they call LMI, low and moderate income. I do not believe it to be accurate. I do not think that press release should have gone out. They asked us for a quote, and we said we'd put a quote in, but that was supposed to be released when the duplication of benefits guidance was issued, and my quote wasn't even very complimentary. I think what we said was, what did we say? We said, oh, it's great now that 6 months later they're issuing the guidance. It makes the referees and the Rams game look good and the Rams Saints game look good because at least those folks called it faster. I mean, just ridiculous. But in any case, Tana, I'll say it again. I don't think that income is going to be a factor. I don't believe that information was accurate. I wish they wouldn't have sent it out. And I certainly wish they wouldn't have put it in that press release. So press release shouldn't have been sent out. I think it was inaccurate, and I don't think that income is going to play a role. There is still a low and moderate income requirement that applies, but because of the sort of the law of averages, I think that all of our duplication of benefits victims are going to be fine. All right. Let's see, Linda, you're asking about DOB, and I've answered that a few times. I'll try and go back and do one more summary, but let me get through some of these other ones. Dale, how about legislation that would give disabled Americans a living wage? Dale, I'm not exactly sure of the scenario, but as you know, there is disability, the SSI and other options that are available for certain disabilities. There are also different programs out there, depending on the disability, where you can get, where jobs are sort of tailored to the disabilities. So if we can help there, happy to see if we can help out. Jason says, good question, and you're replying to Tana. Okay, so I think I answered that one. Barbara, thanks for DOB update. Thank you, I appreciate it. Josh, I'm speaking to a couple different attorneys. I'll let you know if they'll represent and don't have a conflict of interest. You're saying the Whaley seems to have a conflict of interest. All right, well, I'm not aware of any conflict, but if there is one, I'd be curious as to what that is.
He was replying to the earlier ask to Sheldon.
But he says here that
it was earlier.
But they're saying that the Whaley, they're trying to suggest that there is a conflict with that firm, which I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, I'm actually curious about that, Josh. Let's see. Do you support the decision to provide arms to the Saudis without congressional approval? Teresa, as you know, the United States has military relationships with countries all over the world. We do allow for certain arms, certain technologies to be shared. Some of our most advanced technologies, in some cases, are shared with some of our allies. In the case of the Saudis, look, there's no doubt that there have been some interesting issues in the history of our relationship, including allegations from 9/11, allegations in some of the things that are happening in Yemen. Certainly the guy that was killed in Turkey at the Saudi embassy, things along those lines. I think that there needs to be a thorough vetting of which weapons and technology are proposed to be shared. And I think that there needs to be a thorough vetting of how, or maybe conditions on how those weapons could be used. Andrew, will you co-sponsor the balance bill legislation that Senator Cassidy is pushing? You know what? I'm not sure. The balance bill legislation. I'm not sure, but I'll take a look. Are you making notes, Stace? I'm not sure what that one is, Andrew, but I'll take a look at it. Sorry. Sheldon says, thanks, you're welcome. I hope that was for something we said or did. Barbara, thank you very much. I appreciate it. James, James is concerned about LIGO, which is the facility in Livingston that measured gravitational waves, the first place in the world to ever do it, right in Livingston Parish. How awesome is that? And they've received funds repeatedly through the National Science Foundation. We have continued to come in and try and make sure that that funding is secure. Some of the discoveries that they have made are really just incredible, and so we're continuing to work to help support funding for that. Understand that. Let's see. Josh Drager, you're saying anyone who has a DOB not due to SBA according to his office, and I'm not sure what that was referring to, Josh. I'm sorry. Marlene, thank you for helping with the I think you mean Amite River there, and you bet we're going to keep working on that. Linda saying it's going out of service. Is it?
Earlier.
Oh, it did. Okay, Linda, sorry about that. We're working off of Wi-Fi in here, and this building is sort of like Fort Knox. It's really hard to get cell and Wi-Fi in here. I apologize. Susan's asking about Restore, which I think answered that. Matt, did Chip Roy ruin duplication of benefits for Louisiana people today? And the answer to that is no. Matt, there was a duplication of benefits amendment in there that Congressman Cedric Richmond and I included. That one is more a prospective issue, making sure that HUD does not cause this problem for future, well, I can't say future disasters, but basically it's for the funding that is in that bill that is primarily for Harvey, Irma, Maria, Michael, and Florence, not for 2016 flood, because our money was already appropriated and has been in the bank now for over 2 years. So there is a little bit of money in there for the Hurricane Harvey victims in the extreme corner of Southwest Louisiana, but otherwise that bill is more so geared toward Texas, North Carolina. There were some agriculture issues in South Carolina and Florida, South Carolina and Georgia, Florida, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and other disasters. Let's see, James. Please keep heat on the Corps of Engineers on floodgates. I can't help the people that made the decision to raise cattle on this land. Beverly, thank you for being on. It was good to see you last night and enjoyed that education brainstorming session. That was really great. That was just an awesome opportunity to have very candid conversations with a number of people about what we can be doing to help improve education in our school system. So thank you. Ryan, working on, oh, and by the way, Beverly, I did read about the barge. She was talking about the barge last night in Oklahoma. I think that had happened when I was on the plane and I missed the notification email. But I did read about that last night, and thankfully the dam has not collapsed, but still, that was just scary. Ryan, where can I read the amendment that you and others proposed? Let's see. So Ryan, I got to make sure I know which amendment you were talking about. Let's see. Ryan, I brought up a few different amendments that we did. We did an amendment on duplication of benefits to force HUD to do the guidance. We did an amendment on the flood mitigation funds for HUD, and we did an amendment on government pension offset windfall elimination. I think that we've done a lot of other amendments, but those are three of them that I've mentioned just now. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but all three of those should be up on the, well, it's probably easier if you can call us or email us. It's a little bit of a maze to get through some of the websites, but if you give our office a call, just give us a call at Baton Rouge office here, 225-442-1731, or if you just want to clarify in the comments, I'll hit you with a link to the amendments that we've filed on whichever one you're looking for. But again, 225-442-1731, or just comment again, and I'll let me know exactly which amendment you're looking for, and I'll show you what we filed there. Let's see. Bridget, thank you to the state of Louisiana. I now get to deal with my camp flooding and Assumption. Bridget, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm assuming that it's because of what's going on in the Chaffalay Basin and some of the backwater flooding issues. The Bayou Chene structure is going to move forward, it looks like, and so that should help to alleviate a lot of the flooding and maybe even bring down water levels in Assumption, and again in many other areas, including St. Mary and St. Martin, in Iberville and Terrebonne Parish, and potentially others as well. Bob, have they started digging on the Comite diversion canal yet? Bob, they're still doing two things right now that are sort of prerequisites to the actual digging of the canal. Number one, they're doing the utility relocations, and that's just everything from internet, electrical, gas, water, wastewater, getting all the utility pipes and conduits and everything moved, so when they do dig, they're not going to hit those things. Number two, they're working on the bridges, and as you know, there are 3 bridges that have to be built that are going to allow for the canal to go under them, because the roads, obviously, you got to have a wide bridge crossing. So those are the construction components that are being focused on initially. We did get an agreement with the Corps of Engineers that they are going to start doing digging on whichever sections are ready, meaning you get the surveys, you get the utility clearance, meaning that they've already been relocated and they're not going to get severed or hit during the digging process. So they will start digging whichever sections they can. They will dig sections concurrently, which should speed up the completion process. Linda, let's see. All right, Linda, you're asking about some of the income and other tax issues on duplication of benefits. Oh wait, let me make sure you said duplication. Well, you don't say duplication, but you're saying if your income tax filings will have an impact on how much you're able to receive, and I'm not sure if you're talking about duplication of benefits or not, but we haven't seen the guidance yet, so we're not sure exactly how that's going to work out. If you did take money out of your 401k, we did change the law in December of 17 that allows for those funds to be accessed tax-free. If you have a more detailed question, maybe if you just give our office a call, we'll see if we can walk through that with you with Restore, or maybe just through some of the folks in our office. But give us a call here, Linda, in our Baton Rouge office. It's 225-442-1731. See, Tracy, what will it take to have Governor Edwards step in? And so, Tracy, I'm not sure if you're talking about duplication of benefits or not. If that's the case, then, I said this last time on Facebook Live, and I'll say it again. If I were governor, I would have cut the checks. I would have just done it, and if I would have sort of forced HUD to try and come after me. If they think that if HUD wants to try and sue me as the state of Louisiana for cutting checks at duplication of benefits victims for money that we appropriated over 2 years ago and has just been sitting in the bank, I'd love to be in court with them. I'd love to hear those guys trying to explain themselves and why they think that what the state did was illegal. So I'll say it again. If I were governor, I would have cut the checks. I'm a different person. I have a different style, and I'm probably significantly more frustrated than our governor is, just because of all the blood, sweat, and tears we put into getting the bill written, passed through the House 3 times, passed through the Senate finally, negotiated out, and everything else. But that's my perspective, my 2 cents. Yes, you're saying a Restore fund. So yeah. Look, I've made that suggestion to him a couple of times. I understand, his concern about the legal posture or legal situation that he's in. I understand that it would be more risky to do what I said, but again, in this case, I'm pretty frustrated, and I think I would have just done it. And Bridget saying, after dealing with my home flooding in 2016, still not finished. And Bridget, I think you're talking about because you don't have access to your DOB funds. So continue to work on that. Sheldon, thank you. AJ, still waiting for UNCCA to do something to fix the water access issue. Yeah, they got the task force, but it's a joke. There's some special treatment. Retired politicians kicking the can down the road. Yeah, AJ, I mean, you and I have talked about this a dozen times on here. As we've discussed, this is an issue that has to do with the State Lands Office, Attorney General's office, and others here. And ultimately, the only way this is going to get settled is in court. It really is. I mean, it's a conflict between a property rights issue of someone who owned land and the land eroded or opened up, and the fisheries access issue. And again, we've talked about this a dozen times on here at least. Nona, I think I already answered yours, but thanks. Paula answered you. Amy, thank you. Let's see, Susan sent on DOB, and I'll do another summary on that one before I jump. Let's see. Mandy, ridiculous. They're violating the law. There shouldn't be an extension for them to decide to abide by the law. Look, Mandy, I agree with you 100%. Again, if I were a judge, I would have told them no. But we do plan on intervening with the court once the federal government, or if and once the federal government files their reply to the lawsuit. But we'll see there. Let's see. Sheldon, how can we get on the class action lawsuit? And Sheldon, I think I responded to that earlier. Nona, let's see. Gayla, James, Tana, and Linda. I'm going to give an update on DOB again. See, Dale, I responded to that one. Jason. See, Josh, I read that one. Teresa, I read that one. Andrew, I owe you a response on the bill you mentioned. Barbara, what's going on here? Barbara, thank you. And James answered that one. John, Linda. I think I've been through all those. Okay, let's see. Oh, surprise billing. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So, Andrew, surprise billing. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were talking about. So Andrew asked earlier if we were going to help support surprise billing legislation, and yeah, let me be very clear. Yes, and we actually started talking about this back in 2014 when I first jumped on the campaign trail. I told a story and tell it often about where my son, we had to take him to the hospital out of state, and got this ridiculous bill. Ended up talking to our insurance company, and I mean, just it was crazy. They billed us, and I'm gonna forget the numbers now, but it was like $7,000 or $9,000, and we basically were there, in and out. They did like one test, one X-ray, and wrote a prescription, and it just crazy, and found out that a lot of the things they charged us for effectively were fraudulent, and ended up getting a lot of it reversed. But it is something that we have been advocating for a few years now. We've been pushing the administration on it, been pushing legislation. So certainly any legislation having to do with transparency in billing, whether it be for pharmaceuticals, for any type of healthcare, hospital, doctor, x-rays, imaging, any of it, I absolutely think we need to have better transparency there. In some cases, it's the healthcare providers. In some cases, it's the insurance. But I fully support that, and again have been pushing those concepts for a while now. Dee Dee, you're asking about Restore. Ryan, let's see. Oh, you want the pension amendment? Okay. Okay, yeah, Ryan. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Stacy, just make a note. What we're going to do on that one is I'll either post the amendment or I will post the link to the amendment in response to your comment. So it's Ryan Bugay, and he's asking about the retirement, the GPO WP. Okay, well, Ryan, we'll get that posted on there. Josh. Yeah, Josh, and you're talking about DOB and how much that's had an impact on you, and you're saying that you lost everything. I'm sorry, and again, look, there's no excuse that anybody who's causing these delays in the federal bureaucracy at these agencies can say that can justify what they're doing. It's completely wrong. I'm going to do everything I can after we get the guidance to hold every single one of these people accountable and do any kind of investigation we can to figure out what happened and why, and again, hold those people accountable, including helping them to lose their jobs. So, well, Justin, what are you talking about letter? Justin, what are you talking about letter? You talking about the Duskin? You talking about the letter we sent, the delegation letter on the federal disaster aid? I think I talked about that earlier, if that's the one you're talking about. Charles, no, HUD didn't issue the guidance. So yeah, it looks like I think I've been through all these. So I'm going to go ahead and summarize duplication of benefits one more time, and then I'm going to jump. But duplication of benefits. So here we go again. Just a summary. They still have not issued the guidance. So yes, they have missed their own deadline again. And I'm going to bet you that the federal bureaucrats that are responsible for this are going to still take Monday off. I don't think they should. We are told, and I want to be clear, this is like second, third, and fourth hand information. We're told that the draft guidance they issued had some major flaws in it, and it was not actionable. I was also told that it did comply with our interpretation, and they specifically mentioned our office because we're the ones who wrote the bill. So it seems that it should be consistent with our interpretation because we wrote it, we meant it, and they're supposed to comply with congressional intent, not with the whims of their own intents. So hopefully that's good that they're trying to comply with our intents. It's bad that they apparently wrote flawed guidance that is taking action to kind of correct or recalibrate. There was a meeting with all of the senior agency officials. I think it was on Tuesday afternoon, if I remember right. It might have been Monday afternoon, but I think it was Tuesday afternoon where they pulled them all together to try and sit down and work this thing out and get it finalized. I am told that because of the flawed guidance, it was going to take several days. This was on Monday. They said, quote, several days finalize it. We did have a hearing with FEMA this week. I think it was on Wednesday, where we grilled them. Congressman Mark Meadows and I grilled them on this. The disaster supplemental that I expect to pass through the House, not next week, but the week after, has a provision that affects sort of prospective duplication of benefits issues. It also has an amendment that we did that one with Congressman Richmond. We did another one with Congressman Fletcher that tries to shorten the time on when HUD can issue guidance on the flood mitigation fund, which is not duplication of benefits. It's a separate pot. But let me come back. Last thing on duplication of benefits is that under the lawsuit that was filed, and we worked with some constituents on that, the lawsuit, Department of Justice came in. There was supposed to be a status conference with the judge, with the federal agencies, and with the plaintiffs on the 30th. The Department of Justice asked for I think it was a 2-week extension, and they told the judge that they thought that the guidance would be finalized by then, therefore negating the lawsuit. So the judge did grant the extension. So there we go. Mark, thanks for the shout out. Janet, Restore Louisiana still have not done the small business loans yet. We'll check in with them on that. Stacey, make a note we need to check with. Ryan, thank you, and I'm going to get Ryan. I'll get that reply to you in just a minute. I just need to pull the link off my computer. They have one site that's internal to the House, so I'm not sure if I can do an external link to that, but I'll find one and make sure we post it up on there, or just post the amendment. So, but it was a good bipartisan amendment. So, hey, thank you all very much. I want to give a huge shout out as we approach Memorial Day weekend. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our service members. And I understand what Memorial Day is, but I also think it's really important for us to not wait until someone gives the ultimate sacrifice. I want to thank all of our service members. I want to thank all of the dependents on our service members, because I know the sacrifice is not limited to just those men and women that serve or have served. That sacrifice extends to your spouse, to your children, and many, many others. So thank you all very much for the freedoms that you fight for, you continue to protect and defend. And I hope that all of y'all have an awesome weekend, and God bless you. And on the duplication of benefits issue, on windfall elimination, on the flooding, we're not stopping. We're going to keep fighting for y'all. But I do hope that y'all have a good, relaxing weekend. Take care and God bless.